Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Everywhere you are, hoping guys you enjoying your holidays just with your families, parents, siblings, friends, among more other neighbors over there you are. I'm teacher Bimenyimana Jean de Dieu, also known as Fijebim. I'm a teacher of biology and health sciences here at Groupe Scolaire Nyinawajambo, Ruhita. This school is located in Rwamagana district, Gainjeri sector, over there, Kabuga of Musha, only in 100 meters from the Braki Road. Ladies and gentlemen, this school has 3 levels: nursery level, primary level, and the secondary level, ordinary one. And most of the time I'll be with you for the secondary level part in senior 1, senior 2, and senior 3 on the subject of biology and health sciences. So in this distance learning mode, I will focus on senior 1 biology and health sciences, unity number 1, which is introduction to biology. This unity number 1 has 6 lessons, and I decided to divide it into 3 parts, each video. Hoping you understand, you guys. Which means, to be sure you have understood the whole unity number 1 of senior 1 biology and health sciences, you have to watch all 3 videos, all 3 parts. You understand? Okay, let's now go on. First of all, I want to show you how you come from a primary science and then you reach to secondary sciences. On the part of primary, you have what you call SET, which means SET stands for Science and Elementary Technology in the primary level. So what you are about living things, which means organisms in the primary set, change into secondary biology and health sciences subject, which is the study of life and living things. So you are mostly welcome. And then what you are about chemicals, substances and reactions in the primary SET change into secondary chemistry subject, which is the study of chemical composition and the properties of a substance or an object. And then what about movement of things and the simple machines or pulleys in the primary set change into secondary physics, which is the study of physical properties, phenomena and laws of something. And guys, mathematics is always mathematics, and it is there because it works cooperatively with all different types of sciences. So I was about to show you how now you come from primary and then you enter to secondary, because even in the primary you have what we call things like SET, which deals with something like science. And then from SET, if we go to secondary level, this is where SET will now be divided into biology, chemistry, and physics, as I told you. Okay, let's now focus on the subject of biology and the health sciences. You understand? Let's now go on unity number 1, which is called Introduction to Biology. Before we start this unity number 1, I want to give you the general table of contents of senior 1 biology and the health sciences. We have 14 units. Unit number 1 is called Introduction to Biology. Unit number 2 is called Introduction to Classification, and this unity will also come about it on senior 2, also unit number 1, which is classification of kingdom animalia, because in Introduction to Classification in the senior 1 we will find 5 kingdoms, and then from these 5 kingdoms we will focus on one of them when we reach in the senior 2. Now, unity number 3, it is called External Structures and the Importance of Flowering Plants. Then, unit number 4, it is Magnifying Instruments and Biological Drawings. In this unity is where we find something like handlens and the use of microscope. And here in the school we have them. If you come, we have practices. So, unity number 5, it is called Plant and Animal Cell. Unity number 6, Levels of Organization in Multicellular Organisms. Then unity number 7 is Food, Nutrients and the Diet. While unity number 8 is called Structure and Functions of the Human Gaze Exchange System. Unity number 9 is the Tropic Responses. Unity number 10 is the Skeletal Systems of Organisms. Then unit number 11 is classification of diseases, which means diseases are in general diseases, but we now have how to classify them into two. Some of them are infectious, others are non-infectious. Then unit number 12, this is human reproductive system, my dear friend. I know if I reach on this unity, students are now very warm. They are focusing. No one can miss the class if I go to the part of reproduction. I don't know why, but you will tell me, guys. Now, unit number 13 is puberty and sexual maturation. Also, this unity, puberty and sexual maturation, is somehow relevant to reproduction. And then unit number 14 is reproduction, problems, and childbirth. So all of them, they are about reproduction. Then, let's now focus on unity number 1, where I told you it has 6 lessons. Number 1 will be meaning of biology. Number 2, branches of biology. Number 3, importance of studying biology. Number 4, characteristics of living things. Number 5, safety rules and regulations in the laboratory. And then number 6, first aid and first aid kit. As I also told you, I divided this unity into 3 parts. Part number 1 will hold all lesson number 1, 2, 3, and 4 at once in the video number 1. Then part 2 will have only lesson number 5 in the video number 2, while part number 3 will be lesson number 6, which is in the video number 3. Let's now go to lesson number 1, meaning of biology. Here, you will find different living things in nature. Some of them are visible, others are invisible. Some of them are big, others are small. If we say invisible, it means these ones, they are no longer able to be visible or to be observed by our naked eyes. If we say naked eyes, this is our normal eyes without additional materials like glasses that will now enable us to increase the size of something that is very small into being well observed, like the use of a microscope or a hand lens. How about the history of biology now? Here the word biology, this word biology comes from 2 Greek words. Number 1 is bio, that means life, and logos, that means the study of. Then, how about the definition of biology? Simply, biology is the science that deals with the study of life and living things. Please, I want you to repeat again and note it in your notebook there in your home. Biology is the science that deals with the study of life and living things. Repeat again one more time. Biology is the science that deals with the study of life and living things. And living things is the same as saying living organisms or saying organisms. How about now the branches of biology? Biology has 2 main branches of them. These 2 main branches are 2 main because most organisms, if we try to count them in number, most of them are animals and plants. That's why now 2 branches that are main are now zoology and botany. Zoology is the study of animals, while botany is the study of plants. Why now they are somehow main than the other branches? It is because these branches deal with the more number of organisms to the whole world. As we continue for the lesson number 2 of branches of biology, there are other different common branches of biology, like genetics, which is the study of genes and heredity, and what you call ecology. This is the study of interaction of organisms with each other, which means this is how now we look how organisms are living each other in the ecosystem, how one organism is depending on another organism, how maybe one is needing another one, Maybe if I'm a person, I need something, but maybe I may have a dog at my home. This dog will depend on me to have food, and I will depend on the dog for security by night, for looking after thieves. You understand? At this time, we will be interdepending each other, which means I'm depending to the dog for security, and the dog is depending on me for the food. We will come back on this in the senior 3 unit number 1, which is interdependence among organisms in the ecosystem. But this branch of biology, which is called, this is now the interaction, how organisms interact each other. Another branch is called anatomy. This is the study of organisms and their structure. Now, microbiology. This is the study of microorganisms. My dear friends, if we say microorganisms, these are very, 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 very small organisms that can no longer be observed using our naked eyes. And I said, saying naked eyes means these normal eyes without additional glasses, like the use of hand lens or a microscope, to increase the size of these organisms that are very, very, very small to be observed by our naked eyes. And then if we use these additional tools, additional materials to increase the size of these very, very small organisms, now we are able to increase the size of them and then we observe them clearly. So the study of them is called microbiology. There is another branch, it's called physiology. This is the study of how cells of organisms function. If we say cells, these are the basic unity of life. Whatever kind of life, every individual organism starts from a single cell. I will come back on this on unity number 5, which is a plant cell and the animal cell, and also on unity number 6, which is levels of organization in the multicellular organisms in the senior one. So if you come to the school, I will continue about this for more details. Then there's another branch, it's called biochemistry. Biochemistry is the study of chemical processes that take place in the body of living things. My dear friend, as I started, I showed you another subject which is called chemistry, and also this is sciences. Most of the time they work together, my dear friend. And then biochemistry, because the chemistry I showed you, it deals with chemical reactions, chemical properties of an object or a substance. So all chemical reactions that takes place in the body of a living thing, now the study that deals with them is called biochemistry, and is a branch which is common in biology. Then there's another branch which is called taxonomy. This is the study of the classification of living things and how they are identified and what makes them similar and or different. What is this? Sometimes students, they confuse taxonomy and the classification. Classification itself is a process, not the study. Classification is a process of grouping organisms, which means of putting organisms into groups according to their characteristics. Organisms with the same characteristics in one group, organisms with different characteristics in the other group. Then you continue like that until you reach to a very good group with organisms that are very closely to their characteristics, which means it is hard to distinguish between them. So the study now, which deals with this classification, is called the taxonomy. We will focus on this if we come back. Then let's go to another branch. It is called biotechnology. Biotechnology is now the study of the use of biological processes in the research, industry, agriculture, and waste management. This biotechnology also, we will focus on it in the senior 3 on the part of genetics, unit number 21, which is called gene therapy or gene technology, where we have what we call GMO, genetically modified organisms. In this unity, we also find this word biotechnology because this is how they bring about organisms that used to call hybrids. People who deal with agriculture, they know this, hybrids. They most use this word for maize, hybrid maize. Then let's go to mycology. This is the study of fungi. My dear friend, we say fungi, not fungi. Repeat again, fungi. And then the word fungi is in the plural form. If you want to put it in the singular form, it becomes fungus, which means Fungus. But in the plural form here, it is fungi, not fungi. Hoping you understand, guys. Now another branch is called bacteriology. Bacteriology, you are having something like bacteria, and you have seen logy from a Greek word. It means the study of, which means this is the study of bacteria. Then cytology is the study of cells, while histology is the study of tissues. Then parasitology is the study of parasites. Entomology is the study of insects and the impact that they have on the human beings. If we say the impact of insect on the human beings, it means impact may be negative or positive. Among the positive one, insects, they help us in agriculture, in the pollination, and the fertilization of flowering plants. We can no longer have the harvest without the insect that help our plants, our crops to be fertilized through pollination with the aid of insects. And then there are also some of them, they are source of food, others are source of medicine. So among the negative one, some of them they cause diseases, or they are vectors of diseases. If we say vectors, this is an insect that transfer another simple or an observable organism that now carries the cause of a disease. An example here, I might say the disease called malaria. Malaria is caused by a microscopic pathogen or organism that is called Plasmodium. And then Plasmodium is transferred or taken from one place to another by a female Anopheles mosquito. And this female Anopheles mosquito is now a vector. And always vectors are insects. So a vector will now transfer a disease from one person to another one, which means to transfer a disease from an infected one to another one without infection. Now there are more than 5,000 branches of biology. Let me stop by here. You will consider others. There are more. Now, how about the importance of studying biology? We have seen from the beginning of lesson 1 that biology is a science that deals with the study of life and living things, which means for sure it helps us to understand our bodies, to know how our body functions through its branch of anatomy, through physiology, how our body outside works, how our body inside works. And then it also helps us in treating and preventing diseases. You understand? Because these people that you find to the hospitals and health centers, the one you call nurses or doctors, they can no longer treat you and prevent you without the aid of this biology and health sciences. They have to study biology and health sciences. You understand? So it also helps nutritionists to come up with the appropriate diet. If you say nutritionists, these are people who deal with nutrition. At the hospital, you have what you call santerie, where there are some people who are nutritionists, where they will now give you different ideas and the guidelines about how you prepare food for young ones. Now, another importance of studying biology is that it helps us to understand the science of exercise. If we say the science of exercise, my dear friends, we want to say physical exercises or sports, jogging, walking, gym, which means gymnastic, all of them. Why now biology is giving you this aid? It is because you are making the sport, but knowing that you have bones, you have muscles, you have ligaments, you have different structure like a skeleton in our body. So you are now curious about how you make sport so that no any organ of yourself will be harmed by the sport you are doing. And then also sport, remember, it is very beneficial for our body in general. You understand? Then let us go to the next point, which is it helps us to understand our environment. We have seen the branch which is called ecology, where we see how organisms interact each other within an ecosystem, within the community. If we say the community, this is how organisms are living in a grouped manner, like how we are living in villages. And then also biology, it is a career subject, which means it brings about money. It is a career subject. You see, right now I'm teaching you biology. I'm a teacher of biology, and to teach biology gives me money because they pay me. You understand? And more than that, before they pay me, I know what is there, and then it brings me about how I understand the body, how to treat and prevent diseases, among more others. Also, biology guides us on the best farming practices, like on the part of people who deal with the cultivation and agriculture. Which means here it gives us about the guidance of food security. If we say food security, this is how we are now sure of making food to the highest extent to the needed amount of food so that there is no famine. Know that now if food is enough, it means we are secure, and then the time of food security comes. Now, it helps us also in making decisions about our own health and form our own opinions on the controversial issues. If we say controversial issues, these are issues that you discuss and then you end having no conclusion. You are ending the conversation, but you are in doubt. So that is the controversial issues, like donation of organs. My dear friend, imagine you're having a friend, and then maybe he or she is suffering from diseases connected to kidneys, and then they say the one, please, you have to go and replace the kidney, and then they ask that one to come up with the friend to give him to give him an additional kidney. My dear friend, imagine, are you going to give your kidney like that without thinking about it more than time? So that's now why biology is there to help you decide about your health. Before you give your kidney, you have to be sure, how about me? How about my life? I'm going to give one. How about the remaining one? Maybe you are even having some attached diseases. And then also, biology gives us the ability to appreciate how all the types of life on the earth are independently connected. As I said, on the part of ecology, and as I said, we will come on this topic also in the senior 3, unit number 1, which is introduction, on how organisms are independently living together or needing each other among ecosystem. Then, among more others, biology is a very huge science. It has a lot of importance. So studying biology is very beneficial, my dear friend, because you have seen it deals with life and living things, and we human beings, we are living organisms. So if you are not dealing with the biology and the health sciences, what are you doing? It is like hating living. It is like you don't want to live, because biology will give you all the general information that is needed in your life, the basic knowledge about living as a living organisms, how we need each other, because organisms are connected, are interdependently needing each other. Now let's go to lesson number 4, which is characteristics of living things. My dear friend, to be a living thing, you need to have 7 characteristics at once, which means you do not have to have 6 out of 7. You have to have all of them at once to be classified as a living thing, because there are some other things which are not living that may have some of the characteristics that are here, but to be a full living organism, you need to have all these main 7 characteristics of all living things. Number 1 is movement or locomotion. This is how organisms may change the position, the whole body or some parts. If we say now, for us we human beings and the animals, we move the whole body. But the plants can no longer move the whole body. It shakes some of its parts. It shakes the branches, it shakes the leaves. So shaking the branches, the leaves, is now shaking the part of its body. You understand? And then let's go to reproduction. My dear friend, most of the time I have found people understanding the word and the term reproduction in a way that is not correct. Why do we have reproduction? We are having reproduction because already the life, the world, the earth knows that we organisms, we can no longer live forever. That's why reproduction will be a characteristic for living organisms, because organisms, to be sure they live for a long period of time, they have to reproduce other living organisms of their own kind. That's why we bring about reproduction. So here, please note that these young ones, nowadays, youths, hey, you are now talking in a bad way on the topic of reproduction. No. The way you are now dealing with the reproduction is not how normal reproduction is. Reproduction has its time. Organisms, they have first of all to grow to the needed time, and then if it is now able, it will produce, and then you reproduce to be sure you are now bringing about new individuals that will live the rest of your life, and then they continue like that. This is even why some of our parents, they call us their names. For example, maybe you are called Karangwa, maybe your parent is Karangwa, or you are called maybe Clementine, maybe your mother is also Clementine. Your mother has given you the name Clementine because she wanted you, if they call you, they are also recalling that a mother called the Clementine has been there. This is the reason why our parents sometimes they give us their names, to be sure we continue to live for them. Now there is another characteristic which is called the growth or development. This is an irreversible increase in the size and the dry mass of living things. If we say irreversible increase in the size, it means, my dear friend, remember when you were just still in a childhood, maybe like in maybe one year old, and they compare your 1 year old and your 10 years old, the size, saying it is irreversible, it means if you have increased in size, you cannot go back to the size that you have been while well on 1 or 2 years old. If you are 10 right now, it can no longer go back. So an irreversible increase in size, you increase in size and the dry mass. In size, your body increases. Then we observe it, then we see you are big or you are small. And then the dry mass, this is the kilograms of living things. Now, there is also what you call sensitivity or irritability. This is now the ability of organisms to detect or sense the changes in their surrounding environment and then respond to them accordingly. This is like, you may be in a house, then you understand the voices of dogs outside. Maybe, for example, you fear dogs. After fearing the dogs, you may keep silent. Now, the dog outside is a stimulus, and then it is giving you the information. And then because you are keeping silent, to be sure you understand clearly the sound of that dog, and then you hide yourself. That is detecting the sound of the dogs, and then if you are now trying to hide yourself, you are now responding to that dog because you maybe fear the dog. And then we also have what we call respiration, because it is how now organisms produce energy by breaking down the food substances in the body. My dear friends, sometimes students, you mix the term of respiration and then what you call inhalation and exhalation, breathing in and breathing out. Respiration, this is when the body is breaking down the food substances that you have consumed when we were just taking food, and then it produces energy that you used, where we are now having energy to use. You are able to run, you are able to pick things with dry mass. You are able maybe to take a jerrycan of water. You are able of everything that requires energy. And then respiration totally differ from inhalation and exhalation, but they are now they work cooperatively, because inhalation is the beginning process of respiration, and then exhalation is now the result that the respiration has taken place. Let's go to excretion. My dear friend, this is how organisms remove the toxic waste products from their body. Remember, we get food, we get drinks, but remember, after getting them, we want to go to the toilet. Going to the toilet is an example of excretion, because we are removing the waste products from what you have consumed in the food and the drinks. And then some of them may be toxic, or others may be not needed in our body. But the one that were needed will now absorbed as a food nutrient in our bloodstream. I will come back on this in the senior 3, unit number 8, which is circulatory system. The last characteristic is called nutrition. Please, after saying excretion, you can no longer go and remove waste materials without consuming something. We first need to have food. Nutrition, feeding. This is whereby organisms take food, nutrients into their body to provide energy, as well as they bring about maybe the growth and repair of the worn out tissues or cells. If we say repair, sometimes you may cut yourself and then you have a wound. If you have now a wound, the way your wound will be recovering to have another tissue there, this will be brought about cells. They get repressed. This is what we call worn out tissues now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now at the end of part number 1, which holds lesson 1, lesson 2, 3, and 4. Lesson number 1 was Introduction to Biology. Was this correct? Lesson number 1 was the meaning of biology. Then lesson number 2 was we are having the revision, please. Lesson number 1 was meaning of biology. Then lesson number 2 was the branches of biology. Then lesson number 3 was importance of studying biology. And then the 4th lesson was the characteristics of living things. Right now, I'm going to give you a homework of this part number 1. There are 3 questions. After having whatever, you first go back. You revise the whole video from the first minute. What is biology? Where biology comes from? Why do we study biology? What are the characteristics? What are the branches? Why this? Then, question number 1 in the homework. Justify why a motor vehicle moves but is not a living thing. Second question. Plants and animals are both living things, but I want you to show how they are different in terms of growth, and then in terms of movement, and then in terms of nutrition. Which means, my dear friend, here you will say how plants grow in comparison with how animals grow. Here it is very good to use a table format. Then question number 3. Which characteristics are not exclusive to living things only? If we say they are not exclusive, it is like saying, what are other characteristics from the mentioned main 7 characteristics of living things that are not only found in living things? Okay, so how now to work this homework? You will submit your work via the link, which is written here in the blue color, starting from bit.ly/ then this link will also be pinned on the section of a comment. And then if you are having different queries, for more inquiries, you may call me teacher to this number 078-2222-3463. Call WhatsApp and then like that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We will see you in the next video, which is part 2. Part 2, we'll be having the lesson number 5, which is safety rules and regulations in the laboratory. And then lesson 6 will be in video number 3, part number 3, which is now first aid and first aid kit. My dear friend, see you next time. But please, if you're watching the video, be sure you subscribe to the school's YouTube channel, you comment, you hit like, which means the thumbs up, and then you call to the school, because we are having nursery level, primary level, and the secondary level. You come, we are here for you. So you are mostly welcome. You may call the contacts that are on the screen. You may call the headmaster or head teacher. You may call the DOS in charge of studies. You may call the secretary, accountant for more details. Ladies and gentlemen, see you next time. I was teacher Bimeyimana Jean de Dieu of Fijebim, and then I'm here to group a school in Jambo Ruhita. The school is located in Guamagana district. Bye bye. See you next time.